Very often on our Greetings from the Garden State segment here on Jersey Magazine, we talk with host Mike Ham about New Jersey music and the Jersey sound. We're going to go old school here and go back 50 years to Bruce Springsteen's Born to Run album. It came out in 1975. And Mike, you recently spoke with author Peter Ames Carlin, who has probably just published the definitive book on the making of that album.
Yeah, Peter joined the morning show that we do from Weehawken, and it was really interesting. Like I really didn't know kind of the whole backstory on Born to Run. I didn't realize, like, I mean, I just figured when Bruce started putting out music that he was a commercial success, like right out of the gate, and that definitely wasn't the case. But it was really interesting. They just sent me a copy of the book, so I'm very excited to read it. But really excited, or it was really interesting to kind of get like a little bit of a glimpse from Peter into kind of like what went into that and kind of where his career was. And, Columbia Records thinking about dropping him, which is almost like you can't even really fathom that and like start to put that together in your own head. So, really interesting and really a deep dive into this particular album.
Bruce's first two albums, as fans know, were a little different from what he would eventually do with albums like Born to Run and Darkness on the Edge of Town. In fact, I think it was after the second album, Mike, that one of his friends, Bruce, played it for him and said, "What do you think?" And the friend said, "Well, it's good, but where are the guitars?" Because
Yeah.
Bruce had gone into this, he had been called the next Dylan, as a lot of people at that time were. And that means kind of crazy because Dylan was A, still very active, and B, we didn't need another Dylan. We needed a Bruce Springsteen or
Yeah.
whomever it happened to be that they were calling that. But they did not sell very well, despite pretty decent airplay in the New York, New Jersey area. He was getting some airplay in Boston, Cleveland, Philadelphia. That was pretty much it. And as you just alluded to, in danger of being dropped by Columbia Records unless he came up with a hit single. Thus, what he put into Born to Run. And as you'll find out when you get into the book, Carlin really goes into detail on the painstaking work that Bruce and the E Street Band did on this record.
Yeah, it's honestly like I feel like we talked about this, you and I, recently, about having like that one hit, that one whatever. And I think that it just like to me, like Peter talks about it in our interview, how like those first two records, while they weren't commercially popular, like they were still like critically popular. Like people were like, wow, this is actually like a revolutionary style of music, but it was so different than what everybody else was doing that they weren't playing it on the radio. And it's like we always go back to it. I mean, obviously, like the industry has changed over the last 50 years quite a bit, but to think that just like little bit, like that one song, that one single keeps them on that label, and then obviously, like we know the rest of the story. But yeah, I mean, it's really interesting, and then I also find it interesting now with Bruce kind of like re-releasing and releasing some of the stuff that like my buddy Chris just sent me the new uh, Born in the USA electric version or whatever
Mhm.
off Nebraska, and like that was just like it's so interesting and just so cool to kind of see all this stuff from back when he was trying to get to be Bruce Springsteen, basically, like how we know him now.
That electric version of the Nebraska songs, Bruce didn't even remember making it.
Yeah, yeah,
As you go into, I think there's five. I mean, he's released so much music in the past couple of months, but I think it's a
yeah.
five disc compilation with live stuff and outtakes and this, that, and the other thing. And the trio version of Born in the USA, which is just him, Max Weinberg, and I think Gary Talent,
Mhm.
he had no recollection of doing, oh, yeah, I guess I did that.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, you imagine like over that length of a career, like the amount of stuff that has never seen the light of day, probably will never see the light of day in some cases, like stuff that could have been something, that we always remember. But yeah, I mean, it's just crazy to kind of like get a glimpse into the both through the book and what Peter wrote about, and obviously like the stuff that Bruce has been releasing the last few months, which has been significant. Like a lot of stuff has been coming out, and just to kind of get an idea of like this the like obsession and just the creativity that comes out of somebody like that, and then how you put that all together to make something that people want to enjoy.
Obsession is a great word because, as you'll find when you get into the book, when they talk about, for example, the saxophone solo in Jungleland, I mean, it took hours to get exactly the sound that Bruce wanted. And there's another song on there as well. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but Bruce and Clarence really, really working hard to get it. And one of the funniest stories in there is Steve Van Zandt listening to 10th Avenue Freeze Out.
Yeah.
And at this point, Steve was not a member of the band, but was just in there for the sessions. And they've got two top New York City session guys in there on horns, and it's just not working. And Steve said to Bruce, I think it sucks.
Yeah.
At which point Bruce says, all right, you go fix it.
Yeah.
And he did.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember watching that. The name of the documentary is escaping me, but the one about Steven Van Zandt on HBO or whatever that was
Hmm.
on that was. And I remember watching like that whole thing, and I didn't realize like I just figured I knew that there was like a separation at some point, but yeah, it like just those that whole group of people, like the whole group of artists, and kind of the coming together and creating like what is just like such an iconic like album and performances and everything about just like the brand overall of Bruce and the E Street Band. It's so interesting to kind of like start to unpack that and like see what that journey was to where how they got to where they are now. Obviously like you say that name, everybody knows, Bruce Springsteen and all that.
Peter Ames Carlin is the author. I believe the book is called Tonight in Jungleland.
Yep,
And you can check all of that out and all things New Jersey on greetingsfromthegardenstate.com. Mike, I know you're going to enjoy the book. Make sure you get into it.
I will. Thanks, Jim.